Okay, we have a very special guest right now because she's a dear friend of ours. We've known her for years in the Star Trek community. Let's welcome Michelle Wells.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Michelle.
So, Michelle, give us an idea. What was your draw to Trek? When did you start loving Star Trek?
Gosh, when did I start loving? Probably after school, in elementary school, when it turned up, when all the reruns of the original series turned up, somewhere in between Batman and the Justice League and Electric Company.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same experience that we had. What a magical time that was, huh?
Yeah, it was. Boy, not working, coming home after school, sneaking as much TV in as you could before Mom and Dad got home.
Why'd you continue doing all things Trek?
I really, really became a fan, an uber fan, during The Next Generation. And I think a lot of us tend to gravitate towards whatever series was on during our formative years, whenever those formative years were. For me, it was my early 20s. And really loved the show. I remember at the last episode, I wore a pair of black bike shorts and a burgundy shirt, and I put some pips on it, and I went to my sister's house because she had the biggest TV, just so I could watch that final episode. And that was before I really knew and understood what cosplay was. I had been to a few conventions in the Bay Area, and they were a little too much for me back then. They were very much like Galaxy Quest. And then I kind of just focused on work and fell away for a little while. And when the new movies came out, I watched them, and somehow I saw an advertisement for the Vegas convention, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go to this, and I won't have to go to another convention for 20 years. But I was wrong, because it became somewhat of an obsession after that. And the first year when I went, I had 3 scants and a few T-shirts, and I actually rode to the convention on my motorcycle. So I had enough room in my side cases for everything that I thought I needed for the convention. Well, now when I drive my car there from Arizona, it pretty much fills up my FJ Cruiser, my shuttlecraft. And if I fly there, I have to really pick and choose what uniforms I'm bringing with me.
That's amazing. And we know that you are a top-rate cosplayer now.
I don't know about top rate, but I definitely, it's really fun. First, I was impressed with everybody else's costumes, and when you're out there with your friends and people who are also part of the fandom, cosplaying, it's more than just putting on a costume. It's sharing a passion for the way we look at the world, and it's relaxing amongst friends who have this similar interest and kind of a similar mindset. So it's almost like, to some extent, you get to be your true self.
Yeah, that's true. We've seen you at multiple conventions, and it's funny because the first time I met you was at Star Wars Celebration, and I was excited because I was one of the few people there that knew what you were trying to do. I met you and David Chang, and you were a hybrid of a Jedi and a Vulcan. And I was like, yay, there's Star Trek fans in this Star Wars convention.
That was a really fun experience because we had all cosplayed original series one day. I think it was the day before we presented our crossover costumes, and we got a lot of interesting comments from fans. I mean, a lot of it was really good fun, but we got a lot of, hey, wrong galaxy, wrong universe, wrong something. So that was a lot of fun. And David and I, we had talked about doing, with the group of us that were going to the convention, we talked about doing a crossover with Star Trek and Star Wars. And somehow the idea of Jedi came about. And so I thought I was being slick, and I had a uniform or a Jedi costume made in the colors of Next Generation. So it had black shoulders, I think, and then the blue cape, and then I had the wraparound sort of karate style vest underneath it in black, and all the contrasting colors. And of course, I had a lightsaber and a phaser and my communicator. And I had actually, it was one of the most complex costumes that I had made at the time, because I handmade all of the insignia, not the insignia, the Vulcan lettering along the side of it to match things that we had seen worn by in his episodes. But none of us told each other what we were doing. So I'm thinking I've got this really cool reveal, and I'm going to show off this Vulcan Jedi crossover. And David and I find each other. And David has basically created a Jedi uniform, but using Monster Maroon as the model. So he had this red burgundy color uniform with a big white stripe on one sleeve that had all of the year pins on it, and of course he had the Monster Maroon insignia on it, and it was absolutely fantastic. So we were just both stunned when we came across each other. We had an absolute blast at that convention, and that whole crossover ended up evolving over time. And when we went to the next Star Trek Las Vegas convention, I think it was the year that the new Star Wars movies were coming out, and we decided to do the crossovers there, and the group expanded. We had a Jedi, the Jedi Vulcan. We had the Jedi Monster Maroon. We had a Jedi Bajoran that was done by Brooke. Bill Arukan, he was a Ferengi Sith. We had a Cardassian Sith, and we also had a Orion slave Leia, and she was dancing with tribbles in the slave Leia costume, which of course she was green. And then we also had a Borg assimilated Vader. So it really was a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It is awesome. Now, you got to recently showcase some of your cosplay talents on national television.
That was amazing.
So you were on, and we were excited when we heard that there was going to be a Star Trek theme for Let's Make a Deal. And then when we found out that you and Andy and Lewis, I mean, there's quite a few people that we were familiar with in Atlanta and in the cosplay world, whether we met them on the cruise or on other conventions, that, wow, there's a bunch of people that we're recognizing in the audience.
Oh, absolutely. Desiree and Kareen were there. I mean, it was almost like a mini Star Trek Las Vegas reunion.
So how did you get on the show?
Well, at the last Las Vegas convention, they announced during one of the panels that they were having a Let's Make a Deal Star Trek episode. And they gave us the website, or I looked up Let's Make a Deal and found out about it and signed up for a ticket. They were free. And you can actually be on Let's Make a Deal at any time. The website's wide open. You can pick a themed episode or just pick any day and sign up for your ticket. And so I did it right away, right after and signed up. And then as the date approached, I actually had some hesitation on going. I just had some complexities going on in my life. Wasn't sure if I was going to make it, but finally said, I better go. And I'm so glad that I did. So that's how I ended up getting my ticket for the show. Yeah, and I don't know how many people passed it around afterwards. I don't know how well they advertised it afterwards, and I don't know if they booked up quickly, but I signed up and then kind of forgot about it, and then it turned up on my calendar, and I thought, wow, I need to start studying prices of washing machines and refrigerators, because somehow I had in my mind that it wasn't Let's Make a Deal. It was the Price is Right.
Didn't I say the same? I said the exact same. I never watch these shows. When I say I never watch them, it's an understatement. It's been 30 years since I've seen these. So I said the exact same thing. I'm like, what's, I can't remember. What's the premise? Is this where you got to remember the name of things that no one pays retail price for anyway? Because there were two shows with themes that all at once I wanted to see. There was the Star Trek theme, and then The Price is Right actually had a Kiss theme. So twice in 1 week I was going to watch shows that I never ever would even think of watching.
Well, I had resigned myself thinking that it was Price is Right. And I thought, you know what, I'm never going to memorize these prices. I'm just going to bet $1 over, $1 under, wherever the biggest gap is that everybody else is getting.
What else can you do, right?
Well, yeah, I know, but it turned out to be Let's Make a Deal, which is basically, do you want door number 1 or do you want door number 2? It's all you have to do is pick. And
it's like a 50-50 chance, right?
Pretty much. I don't know exactly what the odds are, but it was just fun being there. I did read up a little bit on how to be on the show, and one of the things that they said was always take what they offer, so never settle. And so that's one of the things that I did. And then the other thing that I had read about to prepare, because with the process, once you got there's a huge line outside, And one of the things that I read about, and I don't know that any of this is covered in the NDA, and I think the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, is done now that the episode has aired. But there are a lot of windows, and so they're watching the crowd, and I think to some extent they're looking for people who might be animated or who they want that character on TV.
Yeah, like how did they pick you out of the audience?
Well, and that's kind of what I'm getting at is I was aware that they are watching you through the whole process. I read something somewhere that suggested that, and for me it really didn't take a whole lot because I'm normally pretty, I think, effervescent and friendly with everybody.
You are. You.
And then the other thing that I did was I picked the Anar costume because for me was still a relatively new costume. I think I had tried it for the first time in Vegas, had some fun with it, and decided, hey, if I'm going to stand out on this show where everybody's going to be wearing costumes, I'm going to put some antenna on. And then I also knew that it's CBS and they're promoting Discovery. So I wore an Anar costume with a Discovery uniform costume. And so we're all in line, and I'm aware that we're being watched. But again, it's not like I had to do anything different because I was seeing all my friends there. So we were just running around talking and hugging and happy and everything. And then they brought us inside and we took care of the paperwork and signed the NDAs. They did another screening, which was effectively a group interview. So I don't know if it was a dozen of us or so, and they would interview and ask us basic questions like, what are you cosplaying? What do you do for a living? And again, I think they might have been looking for personalities. And then they bring you into the seating area, into the audience, and they actually tell you where to sit. They choose your seating arrangement. And I was actually seated off to, as you're looking at the stage, off to the left. And I was actually off screen for most of the shots where they showed the host, Wayne Brady, and the audience. You couldn't see me in those shots, and you don't see me either in the anniversary shots, the 52nd anniversary shots that they did with the cake. So I actually kind of got in there and thought, oh, well, I'm off here in the corner. I guess I'm probably not going to be on the show because, I mean, so many of them, Lana and Louis and David Chang and all those guys, they were up front, and you see them in just about every scene that they show. So I was really surprised when they called my name. I was really surprised, and they give you a lot of good direction. They tell you if your name gets called, you have to run up to the back and then come down the center, and so it was quite an experience.
Yeah, I did notice that you were in the back, so that is great that you were still able to get on.
Yeah, the entire time we were like pausing it because we watched it later on the next day, and because we wanted to watch it together. We always watch new Star Trek things together, and so we paused it and we're looking like, okay, do you know who this person is? We're looking at the audience, and it's so funny watching a show knowing who people are in the audience.
I've always been a fan of Wayne Brady. What was it like meeting him? Was he nice in person?
He was very nice. I didn't have time off screen, but certainly I felt like I had a lot of time with him on screen because in the end, I feel like I really lucked out because when they called my name, it's interesting because they just call you by your first name. And the first thing that I do when I hear the name Michelle is look around for the 5 other Michelles in the room to figure out if I'm the Michelle that's being called. But he was looking right at me. And so I was off in the corner. He calls my name and he's looking right at me. They don't, of course, say your last name. And at that point, I stand up and run up the aisle as I'm supposed to, and then along the back end and then down the center aisle. In the meantime, everybody's high-fiving me, and I didn't expect that. And I also think during that running is when my hair came loose. My weave slipped, as Wayne Brady described it. So when I finally got down to the stage, he was very warm, very welcoming, and I just turned into a giddy little schoolgirl because.
Oh, I know you were happy.
My excitement it cannot be hidden, and boy, did I just felt like a kid.
So what was your biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise was when I was up there and they started describing or talking about what was coming next, they said, oh, well, we need a Klingon here to read this to you, something like that. And Mary Chieffo comes up and sees me and she says hi to me and she remembers me because I had just seen her in October at the Destination Star Trek convention. And I'd seen her the first year she was in Vegas. So she's amazing and very gracious. So here I was listening to the prize offering in Klingon. And so really at that point I thought I've already won. This is I'm happy. I can go home with the triple prize. I don't care. Of course they described the prize and it was the sound system, and which I have. It's actually been delivered. I haven't opened the boxes yet, but I do have it. And so that was a lot of fun. I mean, basically, even though there's not a lot of screen time with me and on the television show, that whole segment ran a while, and I'm standing there, probably looking like the giddy little schoolgirl, just in complete disbelief.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So you had no idea she was going to be there?
No, none of us did. But I think also, as soon as we were escorted into the room and given our seating, it was very clear to us that they were doing something very special for the 52nd anniversary of Trek.
So it was actually filmed a long time before it was on TV.
Oh yes, we were filmed months before. They told us that it was going to air sometime in February, so they had 2 or 3 months. They do a lot of editing because there's a lot that went on there, and a lot of conversations with the guests that were on screen that didn't end up on the program itself.
Oh, okay.
That's great. And what's impressive is Mary Chieffo really, because we saw her at Dragon Con last year, and she expressed how she's really getting into Trek, how she spends time trying to understand the history of the Klingons, the entire Star Trek timeline. And to hear her speaking Klingon, you could tell she's more than, it's more than just a job for her.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know, I was reading somewhere where there are things that she does in positioning her head to show off her ridges and to enhance her character with her posturing. And she is an amazing lady, and she's in her 20s, but she seems wise beyond her years. Yeah,
that's awesome. What a fantastic experience.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. There was another interesting. So they described this prize in Klingon, and I said, I think it must be a sound system, and I win this sound system with a DJ platform. I don't even know how to use any of that stuff, and so that was a lot of fun. And then I had the opportunity to trade it up, and of course I took the trade up because frankly I didn't know what I was going to do with the DJ sound system, and what I won was a trip to San Francisco. And of course, I was in the San Francisco area at the time, and I thought, what am I going to do with a flight to San Francisco when I'm already here? Well, now that I'm traveling a lot more, I'll be able to use that flight to come in from anywhere else. So that was kind of fun. And what better place to visit than Starfleet Academy?
Exactly. See, yeah. So now, I mean, you do have a use for it. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, regardless, from any location, or even if I am in San Francisco, I would definitely take up the hotel opportunity, and I think it's a hotel and some meals, and definitely plenty of people I can visit in San Francisco as well.
That is awesome. Well, we know that we've seen you many other times at conventions, and more than likely we're going to be seeing you at some conventions in the future. Any parting words?
Just thank you very much, and live long and prosper, everybody, and have fun putting together your cosplays.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our Facebook group. Live long, and may the Force be with you. Nanu Nanu.